check. 1, 2. It's a mic check from the lav mic. Mic check from the lav mic. Testing 1, 2, 3. Mic check from the lav mic. Testing 1, 2, 3. Test 1, 2, 3. Check. 1, 2. Okay. We could have her wear.
Yes.
Check. Check.
We're testing this law.
1, 2.
Let's check the frequency. 494.100.
494.100. It's not muted. Check 1, 2. Check 1, 2. I see it doing something. Check 1, 2.
Audio.
Check 1, 2. Check. Check 1, 2. You have it on. 1, 2.
Okay.
Check 1, 2. 1, 2. Mic check. The podium mic. Test 1, 2, 3. Check. 1, 2, 3. Welcome to the event. Test 1, 2, 3. Check. 1, 2, 3.
Can you hear? Okay.
Check 1, 2, 3. This is the mic check for the podium.
Yeah, I hear.
to Insurance Day 2023. We are pleased to see so many bright and promising faces of our students, but also our alumni, our assistant faculty, and of course our trustees and our volunteers. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. I'm Tiffany Gray. I serve as Vice President of Institutional Advancement, and I have the thrill, the pleasure, and the honor of serving alongside the team in institutional advancement. I won't call everyone's name today, but I do see several team members. Thank you all for supporting this event. But I do want to extend a special thank you to some of our core committee members who made this afternoon possible. Obviously, Trustee Richard Perry, Trustee Jason Vance, thank you for your leadership, for your service in supporting and helping to plan this event. I also want to extend a very special thank you to someone who I'd like to call a little bit of a superhero, Miss Kimberly Jones. She is providing quite a bit. Yes, give her. She has provided so much leadership to the Center of Excellence for HBCU Corporate Engagement, and of course, serves as our Director of Strategic Partnership. She has been just an anchor for this team, and we're grateful for her leadership in bringing today into fruition. Many of you received a flyer. Many of you saw the digital and campus-based campaign about today, and we also launched a Did You Know campaign, sharing facts and information about the importance of the insurance industry, not only across the state of Ohio, but for families and communities. One thing that we know here at Central State University is that we serve as a beacon of educational opportunity and economic opportunity for families and communities. I was really thrilled to learn about one of our courses, although I haven't been able to sit in on Mr. Brian Washington's class just yet, called Economic Problems in the Black Community. But one of the points of departure in that class is the issue of underinsured Americans, families, and of course, families of color. And so it is appropriate and fitting that today, on the last day of Black History Month, that today here at Central State University, that we are calling attention to opportunities for career development and career advancement in the insurance industry. Our hope is that our students walk away with a deeper understanding of the broad opportunities that are right within the insurance industry. Our hope is that our panelists will serve as inspiration and will share their stories, both personal and professional journeys, and why the insurance industry was an appropriate fit for them. And my hope is that as students will be inspired to look forward to opportunities and ways to engage, whether it's you personally or friends and family, to strengthen diversity within the insurance industry. Thank you all very much for your participation today. I do want to make a quick note that we'll be modifying the program just a little bit because of a technical glitch with our remote panelists. Oh, it has been resolved because of Superwoman here. Well, before we bring on Miss Ngozi, I did want to bring up Trustee Jason Mann to bring you greetings and share a little bit more about why we're here this afternoon. Trustee Mann.
Thank you, Gray. This is a super exciting day for me because not only am I a trustee on the board for the past 4 years, but also a 29-year career insurance industry person, right? So everything we're going to talk about today, I've had a chance to live for the last 29 years. And so I'm excited to be able to share that with you guys and gals today through all these insurance carriers and panelists that come here, right? So when you think about the insurance industry, think about this as that everybody starts in entry-level positions. I started 20 years ago as a claims rep trainee. And so from there, insurance companies do a phenomenal job of teaching you the skills and the expertise that you can excel, right? So when you look at the panels today, you're going to hear a lot of their stories, how they started at entry-level positions, and over time, they were promoted from within and compensation and grew accordingly as well. So when you think about the insurance industry, think about getting into the entry-level position, find out what you like, what you want to do, and you have career advancement opportunities there. The other thing that's nice about the insurance industry is every degree qualifies you, right? So every degree we offer at Central State University is a degree that positions you to be able to apply and get a position in an insurance company. So that you don't have to have an insurance company degree, insurance carrier degree, anything will work. The key to the degree is it shows that you took the time and the discipline to graduate and do everything you need. The part, when you think about the insurance industry in Ohio, the number one jobs, the largest number of jobs come through insurance carriers in Ohio. So when you're looking at insurance carriers, that's the number one employer for people in Ohio. So lots of opportunities there. The other piece too is when you're looking about a career, you always want to know how resilient is that industry. The insurance industry is pretty resilient. A lot of industries like the tech industry, when you're in recessions, you see a lot of layoffs. When you're in the insurance industry, it continues to perform at high levels. So insurance industry is also very recession proof. So that's important. And the last piece I just wanted to mention to everyone here is please take the time to engage the insurance companies afterwards. You're going to hear from the panelists. You're going to hear their career paths and the routes they went, but also taking time afterwards to go to each table to learn about the insurance companies and learn about the opportunities that are available. So thank you all for being here. We also have a lot of students and faculty who are online participating right now as well. With that said, I'm now going to introduce Ngozi to talk about the history of insurance in the African American community.
All right. Hello, Central State. Can you guys hear me and see me? I hope so. It is so great to be here with you today. My name is Ngozi Anaji. I am an insurance agent in the industry. I've been in the industry 25 years. I'm a professor at Fisk University where I teach insurance, risk management, and insurance, another HBCU. And I am the co-founder, I'm wearing the swag here today, of HBCU Impact. It's great to be here on your inaugural Insurance Day. Now, Trustee Mann, he described the insurance industry to a T. But one thing he forgot to mention, and I'm going to let y'all know, and hopefully all the professionals in the room will agree, insurance is sexy. If nothing else, if you walk out of here today, remember insurance is sexy. And it's sexy for so many different reasons, all the reasons that Trustee Mann named and so many more. But one of the reasons why it should be sexy and appealing to you as students of color is because of its rich history, because of our contributions as Black people to the industry. And so again, it's only fitting that on this last day of Black History Month, that we expose you, we share with you the Black insurance history that exists in our society, in our country, and in our industry. So I get excited about it. I'm on 10 right now. I'm really passionate about this insurance history. So I want to share a few things with you to hopefully that you gain a better knowledge, a deeper knowledge of what insurance or what contributions Black people have done or provided for the insurance industry, and where we have not just started in this industry, but have grown and developed and helped it scale and grow as an industry as well. So hopefully, can you see my screen? Hopefully you can. There it is. Into this insurance history. But what I wanted to do is just first tell you a little bit about HBCU Impact. If you're curious, if you're wondering, it was founded by myself and my colleague here, Rebecca Ratliff, who is also a professional in the insurance industry. We call ourselves the insurance aunties intentionally. We want you to consider us as your aunties in this industry, as individuals that you can come to network with, to be mentored, and share our knowledge with you. So keep that in mind as I go through this insurance Black history presentation. Just also know that as an organization, we're not only here to support you, but we're also here to educate the industry about the wonderful Black excellence that exists on the HBCU campuses and how that can get enfolded into our industry. So what we do, we aim to excel, educate, equip, and empower our Black and brown students at HBCU campuses to help, again, continue to prosper and to continue to help our industry grow. All right, so history lesson, anyone? And I'm sure you're nodding your head yes, even though I can't see you, I'm sure you're all in. So let's start at the beginning, because it's important to start at the beginning. And I think what a lot of people don't realize is that when we talk about Black insurance history, we are at the beginning. Insurance as we know it in the US, in the United States of America, has its roots in the transatlantic slave trade. Slaves who were treated as cargo were taken from their homes in Africa and transported all across the world. But did you know that slave trade was insured? In order to protect their investment, slave traders insured their property through what we now call insurance policies, insurance contracts. It has been documented that some of the insurance companies that exist even today have their roots in the slave trade. Look, you probably can't see it on the screen, but there's an image of one of the insurance policies that existed during the slave trade. You know the insurance company that's on that policy? Aetna Life. If you know anything about Aetna Life, it still exists today. Even insurance companies or conglomerates like Lloyd's of London, who recently in 2021 announced and confirmed their participation in the slave trade. It has been also documented that the slave trade, not only the transatlantic, but the West Indian slave trade combined accounted for 41% of the the British insurance industry in the 1790s. Think about that. Slave trade, insurance policies that insured us as cargo, so Blacks and Africans as cargo, made up 41% of the insurance industry. Did you know? Now, if we consider and move the timeline a little bit further, after the American Revolution, there was this creation of benevolent societies who served as social and economic safety nets for impoverished communities, including the Black community, where we have free slaves that are coming, coming out of slavery. One of the most popular were the free, meaning the most popular benevolent society, were the Free African Society, established by Richard Allen, which I have pictures of. Richard Allen's at the top, and then we have Absalom Jones. The Free African Society was established on April 12, 1787 in Philadelphia with a mission of serving free Africans and their descendants. The society charged members a monthly fee, monthly dues, in order to create a pool of money to deliver healthcare services, education, burial, funeral expenses, and the needs for the less fortunate. This is what we call the beginning of what we now know the technical term, meaning the pooling of risk. The pooling of those resources by these families, by these individuals, by these free Blacks, free slaves, created the mechanism to what we now call insurance. It is benevolent societies that became the blueprint for also the foundation of the Black-owned insurance companies that we'll talk about in a minute. So again, you see Richard Allen, you see Absalom Jones, the creators of the Free African Society. It should also be known, you see a picture there, that is a picture of Philadelphia in the 18th century. And so in Philadelphia, we have the creation again of the Free African Society, but that became the foundation for the first Black-owned insurance company in the US. That Black-owned insurance company was called the African Insurance Company. Now, although it only existed for 3 years, again, foundationally, this is what developed into what we had during the 1920s, 1930s, and even a little bit before. Again, this influx of Black-owned insurance companies who were serving a need in the Black community. So again, the first Black-owned insurance company, as we noted, created in Philadelphia, was called the African Insurance Company. Did you know? Now we're continuing to move the timeline here. And you can see now we're moving and jumping to 1881. So in 1881, this is really where we're following the Civil War. We begin to see an increase in regulation around insurance at the state level. Before, insurance was really considered more of a national infrastructure. And we start to see an increase of insurance popping up all over the place. To capitalize on the growing population of free slaves and the development of new products for low-income working families and people, companies like Prudential, that should be a familiar name to you, John Hancock, and even Metropolitan Life, who at the time were called the Big Three, began to emerge, again, began to expand and increase their market share. However, they did so with a focus on instituting discriminatory practices that adversely affected Blacks. Prudential specifically introduced a race-distinct rate and benefit policy in 1881. Now, again, we have moved past that, but this is just a little bit of history to show you where we've developed and our contributions as Black people over time. And so even though they established this race-distinct rate and benefit policy structure, what it stated was basically that Blacks were worth 1/3 less as far as the policy value of whites. So these discriminatory practices, not only by Prudential, they weren't the only one, but again, I named John Hancock and many others, were definitely not looked at favorably when we looked at regulations, especially for those states in the North. And so basically what started to happen is we started to see these states start to lock down on these practices and started instituting laws that prohibited these discriminatory practices. And that really kind of set the stage for an exodus of these insurance companies, saying that if you don't allow us to practice these discriminatory practices, now these are companies that supported Jim Crow laws at the time that existed, they started to withdraw from the communities and not insure Black people at all. Well, that created a gap, that created a need. And what we start to see is their exodus creating the infrastructure for, again, these Black-owned insurance companies. And these Black-owned insurance companies formed during the late 19th century and early 20th centuries to respond to the economic needs unmet by the white companies and insurance markets that were placing a high degree of discriminatory practice into play. Now, there's a few notable Black-owned insurance companies I want to point out, two of which are North Carolina Life Insurance Company and Atlanta Life Insurance Company. And I point them out because, one, they were two of the largest Black-owned insurance companies that exist at that time. The first being, North Carolina Mutual Life Insurance, again, which was the largest Black-owned insurance company form. Although after 120 years of existence, North Carolina Mutual began its liquidation just late last year in October of 2022. And at its height, which is so incredible, North Carolina Mutual wrote almost 250,000 policies across the country in 48 states. So think about if it continued to exist today and it continued to scale, even where it would be today. The other Black-owned insurance company is Atlanta Life Insurance Company. Atlanta Life was formed by Alonzo Herndon, a well-known businessman in the Atlanta area. And the reason I wanted to highlight Alonzo Herndon is because Alonzo started this insurance company when he was, not when he was a slave, but he was first a slave, became free, started a barbershop company. So he had 3 barbershops in the Atlanta area that only catered to the white elite. He gathered that money, he saved that money, he invested that money to create the Atlanta Life Insurance Company out of that money. And from there, his empire grew. He owned a lot of the property in the Atlanta area. And it's documented that he owned one of the first motorized cars in Atlanta. And the only other individuals who did were 2 white businessmen in the community. And so again, Alonzo Herndon, coming from scraps of a slave and being able to build a whole insurance company that was licensed in 17 states across the country. Wow, humble starts that these individuals had in starting these insurance companies as Black individuals during this time. Next, I want to move us up a timeline a little bit, and we're looking at the timeline of around the Great Depression. And this is so key because I think what people don't realize is that even though Black-owned insurance companies were born out of a need, right? Out of a need to support the economic wealth and health of Black people in the U.S., they were able to survive through the Great Depression, where most Black-owned banks, most banks in general, most insurance companies, even white-owned insurance companies, were not able to survive. So that shows you how resilient these organizations, these firms were, not only in supporting the communities that they serve, but serving a need in the Black community. So again, surviving the Great Depression was a great deal. I just want to highlight one more insurance company. I think you might know who this individual is sitting in this picture. If you don't, he is a well-known publisher, editor, John Johnson, the founder of Ebony and Jet magazine. If you're anything like me, we had Ebony and Jet sitting on our coffee tables every week because of this man. But the reason why he's important in the story around Black insurance history is because he worked for one of the first Black-owned insurance companies named Supreme Life out of Chicago, Illinois. And he was an employee of Supreme Life where he served as kind of like an administrative capacity, an office clerk to be exact, using money from a $500 loan secured by his mother. He sold his mother's furniture. Johnson mailed $2 subscription offers to all of the insureds within Supreme Life. So because he was an employee, he had access to that distribution channel. And from there, he received 3,000 completed subscriptions and had the capital to start with his first publication. It wasn't Ebony, it wasn't Johnson Publishing, it was the Negro Digest in 1942. He started that utilizing the money he had gathered by the distribution through the Supreme Life efforts through his employment, which is, again, another contribution to the insurance industry. Now, what we start to see after the civil rights, or as the civil rights begins and it starts to kind of create this opportunity for now as Black people to kind of reintegrate, right, or integrate into society. And so we start to see this improvement, quote unquote, around African Americans post civil rights, where we start to see large white owned insurance companies now wanting to reconsider Blacks as insureds. So they end their discriminatory practices, they start writing Black lives, and then we see a shift. Not only began to aggressively pursue, meaning those insurance companies aggressively pursue African American consumers in that marketplace as clients, but they also began to recruit some of our top Black agents. If you have a grandmother like I did, we had, the insurance man who used to come around house to house to house, get the insurance money, but they were so critical they had such a critical role in the Black community that they were pillars. And so we have these white-owned insurance companies start to recruit these agents, start to appeal to the Black consumer, and then we start to see the demise of the Black-owned insurance company. And so with that, the status, we start to also recognize that through conditioning, like being a part of a white-owned insurance company kind of was a status symbol at that time. And so with all these different factors coming into play, the number of insurance companies drastically reduced to the point that, again, we only have one Black insurance company that exists today, and that's Atlanta Life, who just got acquired by Magic Johnson and his firm. That is the last standing Black-owned insurance company that we have in the U.S. And so I want to just highlight, I know I'm running out of time, but just highlight a couple of things that we think about the insurance industry of the day today. We have organizations and trade organizations and efforts around bringing Black-owned, Black professionals to the forefront. We have organizations that, like the National African American Insurance Association, where I sit on the executive board. We have endeavors by New York Life that are looking to bring, Black wealth and close the racial wealth gap. And I bring those to you today because, again, this continues our story about our contributions as Black people in the insurance industry. How can we continue to use it not only to build careers, to support our families, but also to build wealth? I just want to leave you with a couple additional facts here and let you know that, again, these stats are an opportunity for us to do better, to do more, right? And so part of why we are appealing to you today as students in this Insurance Day event is to let you see that insurance is sexy and pull you into this industry, but also to recognize that insurance can be a tool. And so some of the things I just want to highlight, I want to go to the third point. And as of 2019, Blacks represent 12.4% of the population of professionals in the insurance industry. Only 8.6% of them are insurance agents. So think about that. There's an opportunity to increase that number. It is also should be noted that as a tool, it is one of the strongest tools if we're looking to close the racial wealth gap. Blacks purchase life insurance at a higher rate than any other demographic. Did you know that? However, the amount that we purchase on average is substantially lower. Like, we're not purchasing life insurance to build wealth. We just purchase life insurance to cover costs around burial. But what if we were to change that? What could that do for the generations to come and the racial wealth gap that exists? And then my last slide should be some familiar faces on this slide. My favorite is Nipsey Hussle. I love him as an artist. But what we start to realize is that insurance is not a thing for older people. Insurance is a thing for everyone. And Nipsey Hussle would rap about insurance in his raps. One line being $1 million life insurance on my flesh. And if it wasn't for the fact that he had insurance when he was murdered, then his family would not be able to sustain themselves financially today. We have two individuals in the bottom. Well, it will be my left to right, maybe. Russell Westbrook and Sierra and Russell Wilson all joined forces to start to create a influx of Black agents into the insurance industry. That entity is called Evolution Advisors. So now we have celebrities, we have stars, we have professional football players getting into the insurance game. I mean, you guys know Jake, the State Farm agent. Look at all his friends, right? Professional football players and NFL and NBA players. And I would just end that insurance touches everything. So when we think about insurance as a tool, think about it touching every other industry that exists today. And that should be noted by one in the bottom right-hand corner. We have Martin Luther King. Insurance touched the civil rights movement. It was Cirillo McSween, a New York life insurance agent, that financed most of the civil rights movement led by Dr. Martin Luther King. Did you know that? It was his money that helped make the difference when it came to the civil rights movement. So with that being said, I appreciate your time, appreciate the opportunity to share Black insurance history with you. Hopefully this guy was able to see a snapshot of our contributions, and there's so much more. Enjoy the rest of Insurance Day, and hopefully we can connect soon.
What do you guys think of that information? Okay. Learn any facts you didn't know? Okay, so there's a lot to this industry. So I am Sandra Moody Gresham, and I am the owner of the Han Enterprises Insurance and Financial Services in Columbus, Ohio. I am one of those 8% that statistics you mentioned that are agent or broker. So I sell all those products, right? Everything from auto and home to business insurance. And we like to work with small businesses, big business, because what you learn is everybody needs insurance, some type or another. So I'm happy to be here. I had the pleasure to work with Ms. Kim and several of the colleagues here at the university, certainly the trustees, to really bring this event to campus. I've been in the industry more than a decade, and my desire is how I replace myself with other people that look like me. Because the industry is hungry for our gifts, our talents, but what we find is that we just don't know about it, right? So we want to dispel that you do learn about it, you do know about it, and you find it sexy, as my colleague Joseph said, and a place that you can see yourself, right? Creating a career, creating an enhanced lifestyle, and creating generational wealth for your family. So my job is to introduce you to these esteemed insurance professionals, kind of introduce you to the myriad of careers that are in the insurance industry. So one of the points that Ngozi said, and it's really one of my lines, that insurance is one of the only commodities that touches everybody and everything. So if you think about it, you may say, well, I don't have any insurance, I'm not insured. But if you have a job, you've got workers' comp, you got unemployment, that's insurance, right? Your parents, they have health insurance on you, life insurance on you. The chair you're sitting in is insured. The building you're in is insured, right? So literally, it touches everything and everybody. And no one's told me another commodity that does that. Because I've asked over these 30 years, right? Can you think of anything else? Any other commodity, any product? But the sweet thing about insurance is some agents sold at top policy, right? Some agent is earning compensation as long as that organization continues to pay that premium. Not many industries offer that, right? So talk about residual income. That's one of the other values of insurance. The other important value to think about, it is the bedrock of society. Think about 9/11 when we had that happening, those buildings and lives were damaged, were destroyed, or deaths. Insurance stepped in, right? Replace, repair, to provide families with income to continue. What other product can do that, right? So one of the things we want you to get out of this today is that you get you some, right? I can get a job and get you some insurance, right? Does that make sense to anybody? Resonating? All right, let me introduce you to my esteemed colleagues. They're going to talk a little bit about their work and really share some insights to help you understand and dig a little deeper about what this insurance industry has to offer. Brian is on the end there. Brian is the vice president and leads the human resources and learning development areas for Cincinnati insurance companies. And each of these companies, I think, are represented here, so make sure you talk to them during the reception time. His role recently has been to create ways to increase visibility of diverse young professionals. So he's interested in getting to know you and how he can bring those opportunities to Cincinnati Insurance. Marshall Moore. Marshall is a senior VP and External Affairs Chief Diversity Officer, and she's the new president of the Cobra Foundation of Ohio. Prior to that, she served as the Chief Legal Officer and Corporate Secretary for Cobra. And then we have Dave Grove. Dave is Assistant Vice President of Statistical Reporting at Ohio Mutual. So this is the numbers guy, right? Today he leads Ohio Mutual in risk assessment, insurance, and product management. Then we have Kim Riley. Kim is the Regional Chief Operations Officer with Highland Insurance. She has more than 30 years of industry experience and responsible for the Northeast region of the U.S., right, for Highland. And her work focuses on building talent, expertise, and enhancing teams. And Mr. Richard Perry, right here. Mr. Perry has been the president and chief executive officer of Pinckney Perry Insurance Agency, one of the oldest and largest Black-owned insurance agencies in the country. They were one of the top 5 in decades, right? And I have to say, his dad just taught me everything I know in the industry. So he works today in personal casualty risk management, employee benefits, and workers' compensation. And then we have Alicia Collins. She's the assistant VP of data and reporting and business insights for Nationwide. So does a lot of work with automating underwriting, analytics, and really has a passion about database tools and technology. So can you give each of them a round of applause? But there's a lot of experience, a lot of knowledge at this table. We only have a limited time, so our goal is to have them share some information with you, but then really listen based on what you've heard in the video and what you hear from them, and prepare to ask questions, right? And share comments, because we want this to be a conversation, not just lecturing to you. So I'm gonna kick it off, and I'm gonna ask everyone to respond to this. Tell us what your current role is and what's a typical day in your typical work day for you. And then let us know what was your career track getting to that position or today. And we can just start on the end and roll the way down.
Well, hello, everybody. It's great to be here. My name is Brian Wood. I lead the human resources function. A typical day for me is when I never really know what's going to happen in every day when I show up at work. But I'll tell you this, it's sort of a mix of responding to various needs that come up. And at the same time, I usually have 3 or 4 strategic initiatives that I'm working on. And I turn my focus, as I have free time, I turn my focus to each of those different things and try to bring those to light. You mentioned increasing visibility for women and people of color in our organization is one of my key initiatives. I'll tell you what I try to do is I have a project going on. Who is a promising young professional in our organization that I can temporarily bring into my organization so they get an audience that they wouldn't get typically when they do their regular job. My path into my job is a little circuitous, I guess I'd say. I started in lending. I was on my way to an interview with a bank, and I drove past Cincinnati Insurance, and I said, "Gosh, that's a nice building. I wonder what they do." I walked in, I applied for a job. That was almost 30 years ago. So I kind of fell into the insurance industry, which is very common. I started off in an underwriter training class. Trustee Man, you mentioned the training programs, really critical. Developed through that, an opportunity in human resources became available. They told me they couldn't say exactly what I was going to do. What I heard was, "Brian, it's your opportunity to create your job." And I've been doing that since 1996. It's really exciting to me, and I'll pass it. I know we're limited on time.
Well, hello, everyone. Again, I'm Marshall Moore. I'm currently the Senior Vice President of External Affairs, Chief Diversity Officer, and President of the ENCOA Foundation of Ohio. I am an attorney by trade, so I'm new in this role. So my role to the role is I've been an attorney for probably 25 years. I was the Chief Legal Officer at my organization, and the CEO came to me 2 years ago and asked me to take this role. And at the time, I asked him if I could hire one additional person, and we didn't have the budget for that. So I told him that I didn't think I could do it and remain the chief legal officer and do the job justice. So instead, we created a diversity council so we could continue to advance the work of DEI. But he came back to me 2 years later in December and said, "Marshall, I really need you to do this. I'll reassign the chief legal officer role." And I thought about it maybe 5 minutes. I decided something I wanted to do. Pandemic taught me that I really want to be intentional with my time and I want to do things that matter. And so he to me at a really good time that this is something I want to do and I can make a difference and it's been very gratifying.
Hi, everybody. I'm Kim Riley. I'm with Highland. We're the largest broker in the state of Ohio that's domiciled here. We are independent, which means we are family owned. I'm the chief operating officer, and I will tell you, I'll take a different tack. I grew up in Springfield, Ohio, which is right up the road, right north of here. And I was a high school pregnancy. And my mom and dad had me at 17. And they're still married today. But you can get to this level no matter where you come from. You can enter this industry and you can have a career wherever you want it to be in this industry. I was lucky when I went to community college that I met a chief financial officer of an insurance company because I worked at a grocery store. And I met him and his wife, and he took me under his wing and got me in the industry, and I never said no. Any opportunity, and you'll hear that from everybody here, no matter what opportunity was thrown at us, we said yes, we figured it out, and we kept moving. And so that is what I would leave all of you with, is just think about you can come into this industry and you can be anything you want to be. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Dave Grove. I'm Vice President of Enterprise Risk Management and Product Management at Ohio Mutual. So my typical day, I'll start with the product management part. My team builds and maintains our insurance products. So for instance, your personal auto product, your homeowner's insurance, we maintain and build those in the states in which we operate. The enterprise risk management piece, I buy the insurance for the insurance company. So we insure our building, insure our employees. We buy reinsurance for risks we want to transfer. So I work with a lot of brokers to do that very work. My path, I was a senior in college when I got married, so I needed a job, and there was an insurance company in my hometown, so I went to work for that insurance company, and my path was very indirect. I started as an actuary, became a failed actuary. I was a math major, found out the exams are really, really hard, so I pivoted, went into programming, programmed for several years, which led me into the product development world, which I was fortunate to have many opportunities that led me eventually to my current position.
Hi, everyone. My name is Alicia Collins. I work at Nationwide Insurance Company up in Columbus, and I've been in the industry for 23 years now. But my role is I lead data analytics for commercial lines insurance at Nationwide. And so, what a typical day is for me, I've got folks on my team who are working to extract and manipulate and analyze data to basically determine trends and provide insights on that to help our business partners make decisions every day, to help them form their strategies, and to help Nationwide be able to put the best product out there at the best price to make sure that people are insured. Nationwide's goal is to protect people, futures, and businesses with extraordinary care. So that is why everyone at Nationwide does what they do. But with me, I am a math geek. I think maybe we have a fellow camaraderie here. And my career started when I was in college and I was a math major. And I said to my professor, hey, what do you do for a job when you're a math major? And they said, well, you can be a teacher. And no offense to any professors here, I said, what else can you do? And they said, well, you could be an actuary. And an actuary is the person in an insurance company that sets the price of the insurance. So whether that's for life insurance, personal insurance, commercial insurance, the actuary determines how much that will cost. So I said, well, that sounds fine. How do I do that? And they said, get an internship. So luckily, my college was in Hartford, Connecticut, which has lots of insurance companies, and I was able to get an internship and start my career. I then became a failed actuary, just like my colleague here, because those tests are hard and they take a lot of time. But that's the beauty of having Insurance Day like this, is that you can see many of us who started on one path, go down different and other paths. So I still like math and I still do it every day at my job, but I get to do it in a different way using statistical tools, using analysis, and I'm still friends with a lot of actuaries that I work with. So that's kind of my path.
Thank you. I'm Richard Perry. My path is, I guess, fairly unique, and ideally it started right here at Central State University. I'm a graduate of Central State University. My wife is a graduate of Central State University. My brother is a graduate of Central State University. My son, Drake Perry, is a graduate of Central State University, sitting there in the back. My other son, Dylan, is a small commercial underwriter with Encova Insurance Company in Columbus. And so for me, it has set the foundation for my family to sustain itself. My father and his business partner started Pinckney Perry Insurance Agency in 1961. I started off in 87, and I used to go to the traffic court in East Cleveland, where I would talk to people who had to get, they got a speeding ticket and needed to provide proof of insurance in order to get their license back. And I would sit in the courtroom and wrangle those guys and try to sell them on what was then called an SR-22 bond. I don't know if they still do them. Today, I am literally, as I sit here, trying to close a multi-million-dollar deal on some housing authorities in the state of Missouri. And so over the course of 30 years, I've gone from trying to snag bad drivers in a small town court to writing major policies. And so, as everyone in here has said, I relate to you guys because I was here with you. Now, my family did have a insurance career kind of laid out for me, but it's what you do with it, and the opportunities are vast.
Interesting. So you've heard, I think I mic over here, right? Can you guys still hear me okay? Yeah. Okay. So you've heard a lawyer, you've heard folks who like math, you've heard insurance producer, right? Who go out and beat the pavement for those opportunities, right? So there's a lot of spaces. One of the other areas that is really interested to young people is the technology, IT, right? So in financial service industry has the highest paid occupations right above IT. But what's sweet about this is you can do IT for the insurance company, right? Every one of these companies have huge data IT expertise needed, right? So I want to add, and most of these students, I think we heard today that 90% of the students at Central State are minority or African American. So to my colleagues here, what advice would you give these students who are predominantly African American who may be coming to work in our insurance industry and our insurance companies, where most of those employees are not African American, where you're a majority here, but you will be a minority in those organizations. So what advice, what strategies would you give students who are entering organizations where they may be the only female, the only Black? When I started in a small office selling mutual funds, dual only, the only woman, the only Black, right? But we know we're bringing confidence, we're bringing expertise. We're just good as everybody else, right? But it's some still understanding culture, understanding some nuances to be successful in those environments that are different. So what advice would you guys share with these future employees, future graduates that will be walking into these corporate spaces where everybody looks like them?
It is a lonely, if you're looking at it from that perspective, it can be a lonely environment. But I think that for Centralians, you're being gifted and you don't realize it yet, but you're being gifted with a confidence that will be invaluable to you when you get out in the real world. And as long as you maintain that self-confidence and be yourself, you'll find that it doesn't really matter that most of your colleagues are white or male or female, whatever it is. As long as you have self-confidence, are willing to learn, are willing to move throughout the opportunity, and pay attention to the corporate politics, if you will, um, you'll be fine. You'll be fine. Anybody else?
So I would tell you, being a woman in the industry is a minority also. So when I joined the industry, so many meetings, I was the only woman at the table. Even 2 weeks ago, I went golfing with our leadership team. I was the only woman. So it still happens every single day. The piece of advice I would give you is you need to network your way strategically through any company you're joining. You need to sit down and think about who are the people I want to get to know in this company, invite them to coffee, invite them to lunch, invite them to breakfast, and get to know them one on one. The most important person at every company is the head of HR. The head of HR knows every job that's opening. They know every opportunity before it hits any job board. They can help put your name in the ring when those discussions are happening before they ever get to anybody else. So network your way through the company strategically, get to know the head of HR.
So it's interesting that we have a similar theme. So it can be very difficult to be in corporate America. And you're only Black person or one of two. Our company is over 100 years old. I'm the first senior executive hired from outside the company, and I'm the first executive of color. And so there are times that can be very challenging, but just like you said, I think the thing that has helped me the most is having a very clear sense of who I am and believing that I belong in every room and at every table, because you'll need that confidence in order to thrive. You know, maybe you could survive in that organization, but if you want to thrive, you got to believe that you deserve to be there. And something that you said that I'll add to, the most important thing you can have in your career, and the thing that has helped me the most, was having a sponsor. And a sponsor is greater than a mentor. It's the person that's going to be in the room that you're not in, advocating for you. And my sponsor did not look like me. It was an older white male. He died a couple of years ago. I loved him, and we were close until his death. He was the CEO at an organization I was at previously, and he was in the Business Hall of Fame, just larger than life executive, and we were all afraid of him when he came to the organization, so we all avoided him. He'd leave his office, he'd run in and grab his candy and leave out. And one day I was briefing him on a legal issue, and I was like shaking. I was just so intimidated by him. But we had asked him to run our company. I knew he wasn't going to be there long. And I said, Bill, I know you're not going to be here long, but if you would be willing to mentor me while you're here, I want to learn as much from you as I can. That next weekend we had lunch, and we were fast friends until his death. I wouldn't have had a couple of, probably my last 3 jobs if it wasn't for him advocating for me. The job I'm sitting in, he was at another organization, but he knew a member on the board. And I used him as a reference, and I called him. He was like, I want to be the first to congratulate you. I'm like, I don't have it yet. He's like, do you want me to call my friend? I said, not yet. I said, if I get down to the top 3, I want you to make the call. I got down to the top 3. I was like, call your friend. So he gave me opportunities, advocated for me in a way. He changed my life. And I guess I would just share, for insurance, it can change the trajectory of your life. I mean, my kids and what I'm able to do for them and about building generational wealth, that's the goal. And that's what insurance has allowed me to do.
Mentors, sponsors, important in your career path. Yes.
And if you're looking for a way to get started, you don't know who to reach out to when you're new to an organization. Most larger organizations have employee resource groups, and there's almost certainly one that's focused on African Americans. That find that group, you immediately will find dozens of people who want you to be wildly successful. When you find them, you will find friends, you will find allies, and that's how you will find all of those connections that you need to make throughout your career.
Excellent. Thank you for that. I heard one of our panelists say they got introduced to the industry through an internship. So can you guys speak to the organization offer paid internships? We learned it was important. And how do students access those opportunities?
We love interns. We hire over 100 interns a year, every year. If you want to get connected with them, we do. I don't want to plug too much for us, but we do have Corey and Calvin here, and Corey runs our internship program. But you can always find our internships pretty much year-round posted on our company website, sinfin.com.
And I do want to make a plug for us. So we're Crankova. We have a great internship program. It is paid. It's gotten an award the last 2 years. It really is a fantastic program. And we do like to hire interns into our organization. All of our career opportunities are on our website, crankova.com/careers.
Great. Highland.com is where you would find our internships. Yvette's here with us today, so she's going to be at the table, could give you information on them. They are paid. The other thing I would tell you is with remote working today, if you desire, once you do your internship, to continue working with us on a part-time basis, based on what you learn while you're going to school, we're able to accommodate that as well.
So Ohio Mutual, omig.com. If you go to the website, go to the human resources section, you'll find the contact information. We do offer paid internships. We're a smaller organization, so we hire about 6 interns every summer, and we give them at the conclusion of their work. They throughout the summer are working on a real life business problem for us, and they do a presentation to our senior management group.
Nationwide obviously has insurance internships, and probably 1,000 over the summer. The summertime, like May, is my favorite time when all the interns come because it brings this new life into the organization. All these like jaded executives that have been just grinding for 5 months, and then the interns come and they're so excited, and you plan out 12 weeks of work, and they get it all done in 3 weeks because they're so smart and awesome and excited. But yeah, I love having interns. The pandemic time was so sad for me because it killed our intern program, and then we had to build it back up. But nationwide.com, obviously. We also use a website called Handshake where we post all of our internships, and I'm going to be collecting names over there too for anyone who's interested in an internship. But all of our internships are paid. Some are remote internships, some are in person. If they're in person, we provide a stipend if you're not from the Columbus area to live in Columbus. So very large and established internship program.
At Pinckney Perry, we struggled to provide internships through the pandemic, and we have yet to start that up again. But in 2017, I formed a strategic partnership with Highland and have been able to steer internship opportunities into Highland until such time as Pinckney Perry begins to do them again.
So I'm hoping everybody jotted down those websites and where to go. And I think you should really bombard them, right? Share that information with your friends and colleagues because there are opportunities there. And often they go unfulfilled, right? Because not enough people are responding. So we really need to respond to those opportunities. I'm going to ask another question, then open it up to dialogue and questions that you may have for the panelists. So what, and I'd like each of you guys to answer this, what one piece of professional advice would you share with students to prepare for their future careers?
Stick-to-itiveness. Don't get frustrated. My boss is mean to me. I don't like this. I don't like that. Stay the course. Do your networking within the organization, but don't give up so easily and so quickly. Stay the course. Find a better route, but don't give up.
I would say my best advice is to just be a continuous learner. I'm always trying to hire people who are curious and preferably smarter than me. But being a continuous learner is so important in the insurance industry because it's an old industry, but it's always changing. And especially in the area where I work, we're working with a lot of technology. The technology is changing. Where we're trying to Nationwide is an innovative company. We're trying to innovate. We're trying to think of new ways, new products, new things to put out there. So continuous learning is always going to help you. And then the last thing is just this career is long. Any career you get into is long, right? So a little bit like what he was saying, but it's just like don't sprint, right? Like it's okay to go at your own pace and to seek out opportunities, and the ladder isn't always straight up. Sometimes it's over and up or around because you're exploring, you're doing new things, you're learning new things, and you've got, probably a 30, 40-year career in front of you. So it's fine to take it at your own pace.
I would say study those that are successful. And by that, I mean, is there anything that you can learn from them in terms of their habits, their decision-making process that leads them to make consistent, good decisions? Is there anything you can take away from those that you perceive as being successful that you could incorporate in your own personal and professional lives?
That's a good one. I would say, so often today we talk about mentor. I need a mentor. I need a mentor. I need a sponsor. I would tell you I had thousands of mentors throughout my career. It may have been a person that only touched me one small time along the way, but I took the time to learn something from them. Learn the good from the good ones and learn what you don't want to be from the bad ones. You're going to see good and bad as you go on your career path. Pick up what you want to be as you become a leader.
So my advice would be to commit to being excellent and reaching your fullest potential. And there's an article, I printed off 20 copies. I really want everybody to take one. It's my favorite article. It's by Michael Powell. His dad is General Colin Powell. And it was this LinkedIn thing that they did. It's called Best Advice. And the best advice he got from his dad was don't play in the baby pool. And that means I want to compete against the best. And I'm not going to dim my light to make anybody comfortable. If you beat me, you're going to beat me on center court because that's where I want to compete. The article's fantastic. Please take one. And there's a book that I like to recommend. Networking has been critical to my career and critical to yours. There's a book. It's called The Little Black Book of Connections by Jeffrey Gitomer. It's literally a little book you can read in an afternoon. And it's an art that most people don't know. You know how to come and ask for a business card, but sometimes you don't know how to develop that relationship. And that book really helps you. In essence, it's just about continually following up with people and thinking about what you can do for that person before considering what they can do for you.
I'd say treat every day and every interaction like a job interview. You never know when that opportunity comes at times that you never expect it. So how you look, how you show up every day, how you show up on a Teams meeting call, it all matters. Always remember that.
So I heard, don't quit, be a continuous learner, go at your own pace, learn from those who are successful, learn from the good ones, and learn what you don't need to do from the bad ones. Commit to excellence. Don't play in the baby pool, right? And treat every day like it's a job interview. So it's showing up with your best foot forward every time you show up, right? And we do that. I think these professionals would be as successful as they are if they didn't respond to the advice that was given. We just want y'all to get there faster, have a better track, a better experience at it, right? Than we had doing it. So can you give these guys a round of applause for appreciation for the information they shared? Now, if some people taking notes, anyone want to just start us off with some questions? Yes, ma'am.
Is it on? Okay. Hi, my name is Michaela Smith. I'm a graduating senior here at Central State. I also serve as the Vice President of Student Government Association. My question is really simple. Is your job the typical 9 to 5? And it's okay if it's not, I just want to know.
I don't know what typical 9 to 5 is, but I will tell you just rudimentary office things. We're a 50-50 hybrid organization. We believe flexibility is key. We also believe togetherness is critical to forming relationships and critical to the learning process. And we're a service-oriented organization. We need to serve the independent agent. So sometimes we do get called upon outside of normal business hours.
That's a great question. No. But I say that when I was a young lawyer, people would say, work hard, and I never really knew what they meant and what does that look like. It's not always in terms of hours, because I'm a mom, I have kids, and I was at every program, I was at every field trip, and I never apologized for that. That was important to me. But if I needed to pick up a thing and pop my computer back open, or if I need to do that now, I'm happy to do it. So hard work has been the key to my success. I'm not the smartest person in the room, never profess to be. I don't need to be, not even the goal, but it's hard to outwork me. And so I think it's you want to be careful. You don't sacrifice your relationships and your friendships for work because it's not worth it. You want to nurture those things, but when the work needs to be done, you need to be available to get it done. So nope, I don't think any of us turn it off at 5, but that doesn't mean I was an absent mom because I wasn't. So to make your priorities your priorities. Your work will always be there.
I would say that each of you are going to face different seasons of life. You'll have season where you're just entering the workforce. You can work to get yourself the knowledge you need, to get you the experience you need to move forward. You're going to have times in your life where you're taking care of children, you're wearing 5 different hats, taking care of family, and you may need to slow down a little bit. That's okay. With flexible work today, you're able to get anywhere you need to get and be on teams with people all over the country to get your job done. So technology is a great tool for us today. So you can work it the way you need to.
So no, it's part of my life. But I love the statement, you should not sacrifice relationships for your career and for your work. I think that's an excellent, excellent statement.
Yeah, I would say it's, a lot of the more interns or more entry level folks on my team are more 9 to 5. Like it just depends. Not 9 to 5. It could be 8 to 4, whatever. But I do think that the more entry level folks have a lot going on in their lives and want to just kind of be at work when they're at work. Um, I really value work-life balance in my career. I've worked part-time, I've worked full-time. I also have kids. I have a child with special needs, so I'm always needing to go to different therapies and all kinds of things, right? So today, I got up, I went to the gym, I did a meeting, then I took a shower, then I drove here. You know what I mean? Like it's just whatever. And so I think that corporate America today is not 9 to 5. It's whatever works for your schedule, and that includes hybrid or work from home or work in the office at Nationwide. You work whatever you want. You can be one day in the office a week. You can be one day every 2 weeks. You can be no days. Um, it's just what works for you and your team. And as long as you're a good performer, then it works.
I would also say no, but I'm in the sales side. And so if you're in sales, if you operate on a 9 to 5 mentality, you're only limiting your own growth, your own opportunities, and your own income, literally. I was on the phone last night until about 9:30 working on a deal. Those people I was doing the deal with are on the West Coast. And so with technology, it's nothing to sit in my lazy boy while I'm watching TV and send emails or make a phone call or review a proposal, whatever you got to do. But if you go 9 to 5, just because the hours say 9 to 5, don't limit yourself to 9 to 5. Do more, be more.
When I started my career, and I was an entrepreneur, so I was a single mom as well. So I wanted to make sure that I was at all of the kids programs and the chaperone and all of that. So I really got scheduled to allow me. So you can create that work schedule that creates lifestyle that you want to have. It's just about being and performing whatever those hours are for you. Man.
Hello, good afternoon. I am Danielle, a business administration concentration and marketing major, and I currently practice in Central State University. My question is, thank you, Trustee Perry. My question is, do you all consider yourself wealthy? Because you're all saying that the insurance industry is the key to wealth, if I'm correct, if I heard correctly, right? And then my next question is, do you feel like you can work your way to wealth?
I'm going to start with the second question first. Can you work your way to wealth? I came out of college in the 1980s with $20,000 in debt. If you fast forward that today, I think it's probably one of those bigger numbers that everybody complains about. So am I wealthy today? I think by most standards, I think people would say yes. And I will answer that in two ways. One is the financial side, and I would check that box. And I also have figured out how to kind of manage my life, my relationships, my priorities along with it, and all the comments that were made before, because you can't ignore that side when you're considering the concept of wealth.
I appreciate the question, and the answer is yes. And I think the important thing to understand, I'm what's considered a C-suite executive. Uh, when somebody says their salary, they're not just talking about their base salary. So in addition to my base salary, on average, a C-suite executive can earn 150% of their salary in bonuses. So each year I qualify for a short-term bonus. Every 3 years I qualify for a long-term bonus. And then as an executive, I get a CERP, which is called a supplemental employee retirement plan, which my company funds, which I can get when I retire. So there are all these components to income to that you should look into. So for publicly traded companies, those salaries are public record. I think it's the top 3 or 5 salaries have to be disclosed. So look at it. You'll be surprised at how much of their income is their base salary. So I know someone who's a CEO of a publicly traded company. Their base salary is about 500,000. That's not overstaggering money. It really, in the scheme of, it's a good salary, but he brought home $5 million because he's in an industry that did very well during the pandemic. So all of that was with stock options. It was actual stock and not just options. It was bonuses. So I think for executives, if the base salary is good, that's not where we earn our wealth. It's in the bonus structure.
So I think everyone has a different definition of what wealthy is. You know, some of us wealth is being healthy and being able to have time with my family. So my husband and I met in kindergarten, and so we've grown up together. Um, but for us, for us, wealth is being able to still be married, being able to plan for retirement, and be able to have enough money saved up for retirement. Even though I'm a C-suite, my husband decided to work from our home because my travel schedule was crazy when our children got to middle school. He worked from home, and so we took a pay cut to be able to make that happen. So you make adjustments along the way. But do I consider us wealthy? Yeah, because we have everything we want to be able to retire when that day comes.
So I would answer yes, you can work your way, and in terms of myself, probably, but I'm going I'm going to take the question a little bit away from the financial aspect. Yes, the money's wonderful. It helped me provide for my family. My kids both went to school. They've done well. That was wonderful. But for me, the opportunity to throughout the course of my career to meet um, people I would not have otherwise met, to have them influence my life, to have them invest in me, that has provided me just a tremendous wealth in a different sense. And I'll be very honest, very truthful. I value that more than the compensation I've earned over the course of my career.
I really like the point you made about the different ways that you get paid beyond base salary. Nationwide is one of the only companies that offers a pension that's paid for by the company. So basically, they're giving you free money for when you retire. But there's also a lot of different ways that you can invest in, you know, a 401k. And you learn about all these things. You're at a large company like that, and they have all these programs. You get all these benefits, right? So another thing that you didn't mention is, you know, medical insurance and benefits. That's a huge deal if you can get medical insurance and your company pays for most of it, and then not only is it just a mental like sigh of relief if something happens to you, but it also is financially like that's part of your total compensation package too. So we like to think of it as total compensation, but yeah, I think you can work your way to wealth. It depends on who you are. Um, I wouldn't say that universally for everyone, but I think it depends on who you are and what you want to do and what your ambition is. But do I consider myself wealthy? Yeah. Um, I'm very privileged, and you know I work full time. My husband works full time. We both have for over 20 years, so pretty lucky in that way.
I do okay. You know, I wouldn't say I'm wealthy. Wealth for me as an entrepreneur, entrepreneurship has a lot of ups and downs. And in my business in 2015, 16, it took some hits. So my road to wealth was impacted. Am I wealthy? for reasons that are non-financial? Absolutely. I mean, my financial situation is okay. We go to Florida in the wintertime and, we got a nice house and, all those little material things. But, I'm blessed. I feel blessed by the Lord for my family, for my circle of friends, for my matriculation here at Central State. To me, it's all a blessing and is all a part of my wealth. Can I get probably tonight at midnight? My goal is to be a little more wealthy than I am right now because of this deal I'm working on. But also, my goal was to make sure that, God forbid, if something happens to me, my wife, my sons, they'll be straight. Wealthy is relative, but I want to make sure that through the value of life insurance, I'm not going to be one of those families that my family's trajectory without me is changed for the worse. Probably be better without me, even though they miss me. But monetarily, they'll be in good shape. And so you want to plan for your continued and next generational wealth.
Thank these panelists for being really transparent about that, because it was really important. One of my questions was give the audience a sense of salary, right? Compensation. And so I applaud you, sister, for sharing it in that way. But I will tell you, one of the ways to wealth is having adequate income sources, right? You got to get good income sources so that you can invest outside of the workplace as well. So financial independence is where you want to get to. That is how you use that paycheck, right? How do you use all of those various resources that come into your household? How do you manage them to create other assets that create financial independence? So, it starts with a base of good income, and then how do you manage that income? Because we see a lot of people make a whole lot of money, but they end up impoverished, right? You have to manage. If you make $30,000, how do you manage that $30,000, right? To expand that. We're going to take one more question, and then we're going to move into the next section of the program. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Alana Jones. I'm a business marketing major at Central State University and a graduating senior. I have a question down. I have two questions. My first question is, what DE&I efforts has your company engaged in to ensure the diversification of the company and employees? And as a recent DE&I intern, does your insurance company offer internships in HR or DE&I?
I'll start with the second question first. We do internships in the HR area. They're not specifically focused on DE&I, but I will say all of our interns are invited to join in our efforts because we think that's sort of a critical first step to learning our organization and kind of helping us reach our shared values. From a DE&I perspective, we began a focus on racial diversity about 2017 with no formal programs. We rolled out formal programs beginning 2 years ago. And we're focused on, I mentioned the increasing visibility piece, the ERGs, really expanding our campus outreach efforts in a way. And then the other piece would be unconscious bias, educating not just our associates, but we've made it a part of our manager curriculum. And it's not just go do an online class. We've got some 2-day long programs that are designed to make people aware of their thought processes and how sometimes things you don't think you're doing wrong maybe lead to the wrong result. So that's a little bit about our journey.
You just made me think maybe we do need a DE&I intern. Our team is small, and anyone in our organization can have an intern. So we have not had a DE&I intern, but we could, and I think we might. So I thank you for the question. Yes, thank you for the question. And what have we done? Please do. And what we have done in the space of DEI, we have been doing work in the DEI space in our organization for many, many years and doing very well at it. My colleague is here. He's been leading that effort and has done a yeoman's work. I think what we've done of late is to create a chief diversity officer position so that we can focus even more on the work. Our board is very adamant that we do more in that space. Our foundation recently adopted a pillar of equity. We did that maybe 2 weeks ago at our meeting. I was very excited. So it's education, health, children, and equity because we want to support organizations that support diversity. So we are supporting lots of organizations in that space. We have an ARG for African American Associates and several other ARGs. So I think we're on a very good trajectory. And like I mentioned earlier, we have a diversity council. So it is something that we're focusing on.
Great. So we're a broker, we're not an insurance company, so we do not have a formal department dedicated to that. But that's one of the reasons we partnered with Richard Perry and he left. One of the reasons we partnered with Richard was so that him and I could talk about what does this mean and how do we navigate it? And I'll tell you, the biggest difference we made is make sure every applicant pool that we look at for any position is a diversified applicant pool and trying to increase the diversity we have in our organization. And I think that's really, really important. We do have internships in our HR department that could focus on that though.
So I'll start with the second question. We have paid interns in human resources, not specific to DE&I. And I think our timeline was very similar to Cincinnati's. In around 2017, we realized that we should be doing much, much more. And that began with campus outreach and talking about our company, talking about the opportunities, and talking about the internship opportunities as well.
Nationwide, similarly, we have a chief diversity and inclusion officer and an entire department under that individual that does a lot to promote DE&I within the organization. I know there are internships in HR. I don't know if there are internships directly within that department. But I know that Nationwide in general, we also have those associate resource groups that he was talking about, and there's one for basically anything you could ever be or be interested in, and so they do an awesome job whenever, like we have just experienced Black History Month, and we have for all of the different months, we have a Hispanic Heritage Month, we have obviously Pride Month and things like that, and those associate resource groups create all the content for those. And they offer programs. There's at least one thing a week that everyone can go to and learn about. And like, I love watching that history of insurance because we had the exact same kind of like presentation within Nationwide that anyone at Nationwide could attend and go to. So we have a lot of events and focus on not only just educating the entire associate group about diversity and inclusion, what that means and different cultures, but also recruiting and partnerships with a lot of HBCUs. We have a lot of sponsorship and partnership even with Central State University. We have the Thurgood Marshall State Fund and other things that Nationwide puts money towards, and also time and effort towards recruiting and trying to build that pipeline.
We want to thank all of our panel for sharing with you. I hope you found this information valuable. We thank you for spending your time with us and engaging with asking questions to learn more. So these professionals will be here to give their comments as well, so you have an opportunity, and we encourage you to connect with them. And this is a networking opportunity. So begin to do that and see how the opportunity can really create new opportunities for you. So thank you so much. And give everyone a round of applause. And turn it back over to the speaker.
All right. Okay. Thank you again to our panel. I'm going to give our people who are working the insurance table, give you this your time to go to your tables right now, because I want you to open up your package. There's a scavenger hunt. So here's how the scavenger hunt works. You need to go to each table. Oh, panel. I'm sorry. I'm messing up, Nico. Panel, I need you all to stay up here for a second because Nico needs to take a picture of you all. And Sandra, he's gonna take it in a second. So here's how it works. If you didn't get it corner, you need to go to each table, talk to the table, talk to the people at the table, not talk to the table, but talk to the people at the table. After a few minutes,